So I won't tell you what to do because no one likes
So I won't tell you what to do
that.
because no one likes that.
However, give you some life hacks I wish I knew.
I will, however, give you some life hacks I wish I knew
When I was starting out my dreams of a career.
when I was starting out my dream of a career
And navigating life,
and navigating life,
love, pressure,
love, pressure, choices, shame, hope,
and friendship.
and friendship.
The first of which is
The first of which is
life can be heavy,
life can be heavy,
especially if you try to carry it all at once.
especially if you try to carry it all at once.
Part of growing up and moving into new chapters of your life
Part of growing up and moving into new chapters of your life
is about catch and release.
is about catch and release.
What I mean by that is
What I mean by that is
knowing what things to keep
knowing what things to keep
and what things to release.
and what things to release.
Carry all things,
You can't carry all things,
all grudges,
all grudges,
all updates on your ex,
all updates on your ex,
all enviable promotions your school bully got at
all enviable promotions your school bully got
the hedge fund his uncle
at the hedge fund his uncle started.
started. Decide what is yours to hold. Let the rest go.
Decide what is yours to hold and let the rest go.
Oftentimes, the good things in your life are lighter anyway.
Oftentimes, the good things in your life are lighter anyway,
So there's more room for them.
so there's more room for them.
One toxic relationship can outweigh so many wonderful, simple joys.
One toxic relationship can outweigh so many wonderful, simple joys.
You get to pick what your life has time and room for.
You get to pick what your life has time and room for.
Be discerning.
Be discerning.
Secondly, learn to live alongside
Secondly, learn to live alongside cringe.
cringe. No matter how hard you try to avoid being
No matter how hard you try to avoid being cringe,
you will look back on your life and cringe retrospectively.
you will look back on your life and cringe retrospectively.
Cringe is unavoidable over a lifetime.
Cringe is unavoidable over a lifetime.
Even the term cringe might someday be deemed cringe.
Even the term cringe might someday be deemed cringe.
I promise you,
I promise you,
you're probably doing or wearing something right now
you're probably doing or wearing something right now
that you will look back on later
that you will look back on later
and find revolting and hilarious.
and find revolting and hilarious.
Can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it, so don't try to.
For example, I had a phase where
For example, at a phase where,
the entirety of 2012,
for entirely of 2012,
I dressed like a 1950s housewife.
I dressed like a 1950s housewife.
But you know what? I was having fun.
But you know what? I was having fun.
Trends and phases are fun.
Trends and faces are fun.
Looking back and laughing is fun.
Looking back and laughing is fun.
And while we're talking about things
And while we're talking about things
make us squirm but really shouldn't,
that make us squirm but really shouldn't, I'd like to say,
big advocate for not hiding your enthusiasm for things.
I'm a big advocate for not hiding your enthusiasm for things. Okay, here comes the advertisement. Wait a moment, please. Okay, let's continue.
It seems to me
that
there is a false stigma around eagerness in our
there's a false stigma around eagerness in our culture
culture
of unbothered ambivalence.
This outlook perpetuates the idea that it's
This outlook perpetuates the idea that
not cool to want it.
it's not cool to want it.
The people who don't try are fundamentally more chic.
The people who don't try are fundamentally more chic
Than people who do.
than people who do.
And I wouldn't know because I've been a lot
And I wouldn't know
of things.
because I have been a lot of things,
Been an expert on chic,
but I've never been an expert on chic.
but I'm the one who's up here, so you have
But I'm the one who's up here.
to listen to me when I say this.
So you have to listen to me when I say this.
Never be ashamed of trying.
Never be ashamed of trying.
Effortlessness is a myth.
Effortlessness is the myth.
The people who wanted it the least
The people who wanted it the least
were the ones I wanted to date and be friends with in high school.
were the ones I wanted to date and be friends in high school.
The people who wanted the most
The people who wanted the most
are the people I now hire to work for my company.
are the people I now hire to work for my company.
I started writing songs when I was 12,
I started writing songs when I was 12,
and since then, it's been the compass guiding my life.
and since then, it's been a compass guiding my life.
In turn, my life guided my writing.
And in turn, my life guided my writing.
Everything I do is just an extension of my writing,
Everything I do is just an extension of my writing.
whether it's directing videos or a short film,
Whether it's directing videos or short films,
creating the visuals for a tour,
creating visuals for a tour,
or standing on a stage performing.
or standing on a stage performing.
Everything is connected by my love of the craft,
Everything is connected by my love of the craft.
the thrill of working through ideas
The thrill of working through ideas
and narrowing them down
and narrowing them down
and polishing it all up in the end.
and polishing it all in the end, editing,
Waking up in the middle of the night,
waking up in the middle of the night,
throwing out the old idea
throwing out the old idea
because you just thought of a new or better one,
because you just thought of a new or better one,
or a plot device that ties the whole thing together.
or plot device that ties the whole thing together.
There's a reason they call it a hook.
There's a reason they called it a hook.
Sometimes a string of words just
Sometimes a string of words just ensnares me,
and I can't focus on anything
and I can't focus on anything
until it's been recorded or written down.
until it's been recorded or written down.
As a songwriter, I've never been able to sit still
As a songwriter, I've never been able to sit still
or stay in one creative place for too long.
or stay in one creative place for too long.
I've made and released 11 albums,
I've made and released 11 albums,
and in the process,
and in the process,
I've switched genre from country to pop
I've switched genre from country to pop
to alternative to folk.
to alternative to folk.
And
this might sound
like a very songwriter-centric line of discussion.
like a very songwriter-centric of discussion.
But in a way, I really do think
we are all writers.
And most of us
write in a different voices for different situations.
You write differently in your Instagram stories than you do your senior thesis.
You
send a different type of email to your boss
You send a different types of email to your boss
than you do your best friend from home. We are all literary chameleons.
We're all literary chameleons.
And I think it's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
It's just a continuation of the idea
It's just a continuation of the idea
that we are so many things all the time.
that we're so many things all the time.
And I know it can be really overwhelming
And I know it can be really overwhelming
figuring out who to be and when.
figuring out who to be and when,
Who you are now
who you are now,
and how to act in order to get where you want to go.
and how to act in order to get where you want to go.
I have some good news.
I have some good news.
It's totally up to you.
It's totally up to you.
I have some terrifying news.
I have some terrifying news.
It's totally up to you.
It's totally up to you.
I said to you earlier that I don't ever offer advice
I said to you earlier that I don't ever offer advice
unless someone asks me for it, and now I'll tell
unless someone asks me for it.
you why.
And now I'll tell you why.
As a person who started my very public career at the age of 15,
As a person who started my very early career at the age of 15,
it came with a price.
it came with a price.
And that price
And that price
was years
was years
of solicited advice.
of unsolicited advice.
Being the youngest person in every room for over a decade
Being the youngest person in every room for over a decade
meant that I was constantly being issued warnings
meant that I was constantly being issued warnings
from older members of the music industry,
from older members of the music industry,
media, interviewers, executives. And this advice often presented itself as thinly veiled warning.
And this advice often presented itself as thinly veiled warnings.
See, I was a teenager
You see, I was a teenager
at a time when our society was absolutely obsessed with the idea
at the time when our society was absolutely obsessed with the idea
of having perfect young female role models.
of having perfect young female role models.
It felt like every interview I did
It felt like every interview I did
included slight barbs by the interviewer
including slight barbs by the interviewer
about me one day running off the rails.
about me one day running off the rails.
And that meant a different thing
And that meant a different thing
to every person who said it to me.
to every person who said it to me.
So I became a young adult while being fed the message
So I became an adult while being fed the message that
that if I didn't make any mistakes,
if I didn't make any mistakes,
all the children of America would grow up to be perfect angels.
all the children of America would grow up to be perfect angels.